tools getting switched. It's more about the ecosystem of use cases getting switched. And as value add focus, comes in, so something like, let's say, Braze or AppBoy is going after the marketing segment and saying, hey, not only do you get to do your analytics for marketing spend, you also get to run your campaigns and measure the ROI on or the engagement with your email campaign. So that's how the conversation is basically led. And I mean, the reason it has a seat at the table is because Braze has actually actively taken the point of view that we will not compete head-to-head with LeanPlum or Customer.io. We will just go ecosystem versus ecosystem for the use cases.
Okay, got it. And is there any difference from your experience between mParticle and Segment in terms of how they, relate to these, make these ecosystems more interchangeable?
mParticle and Segment are probably a lot more interchangeable, but I think mParticle is a lot lower pricing. They're also a lot more reactive to customer feedback and, implement features just because they're at an earlier stage. They don't have insights as a product offering. Segment does offer insights. Like they actually have this a couple of things that are actually pretty good. One is actually in the area of user profiles, and the other is in data governance. So Segment is a lot more expensive. The onboarding and sort of adoption is fairly simple for both. But mParticle is a lot cheaper and a lot more responsive to feedback.
Got it. Okay. And I have a few more questions. Do you have, an extra 5-10 minutes to go over our time, potentially?
Sure, absolutely. And I want to add one more thing. In case of Segment, there are a lot more enterprise compliant for security compliance, data privacy concerns than mParticle. And I'll be surprised if mParticle is any kind of compliance, but Segment is a lot more.
Got it. So obviously it's more attractive to the larger companies. And do you see a Segment, gaining more traction for those larger companies? So it'd be, more of the typical scenario where, a mixed panel or an Amplitude would have to interact with it?
Say the last part again. I understood the first part, but what's the relationship with Amplitude and mixed panel here?
Just based on my research, my understanding was it was easier to switch if you had a Segment there, just because all the routing of the data was done by Segment and didn't have to be done by the company. Is that different than your understanding?
Sure, that is accurate, but I would say it's also misleading because it only talks about data from the date onwards from the switch.
Sure.
There's hardly any company out there that doesn't care about the data prior to the switch. So migration, I would say, is a lot more, like if a company had to choose between putting engineers on doing the migration versus just, rerouting the connections, they would gladly just reroute the connections to their engineers and have the vendor take care of the migration. So yes, I mean, in a sense, it is because of the data federators like mParticle and Segment, it is easier to just swap out the front-end analytics tool. But that's only half the story. And I think that's one of the value adds that Segment and mParticle, project. That, hey, because of us, you can just switch out whoever you want, but, they at the same time do not have a feature set, which they should, to let the new tool have access to all the old data.
Got it. Okay. No, I get that. That makes sense. Okay. That's helpful. And one more question around enterprises. So based on the vendors we talked about today, Amplitude, Mixpanel, obviously Adobe, which one of those do you think are, for lack of better phrasing, enterprise ready, capable of taking on customers from that, the larger company base?
I would say Adobe is the most, and Amplitude and Mixpanel, there's little to separate, but I would probably say Amplitude is a little bit more enterprise ready. I think, to be honest, I would rate both of them the same. It's really just, Adobe is just, a lot ahead in terms of enterprise readiness.